What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Chrissy CHAOS. Okay? Today, it's going to be a wild one. My guest, okay? I'll tell you a couple of things about my guest. Yes, you know him from comedy specials, movies, TV shows. But what you may not know, and what you will find out here today and will be explained, is this man lost his virginity to a prostitute in Mexico when he was 15. 13. This, even worse. This man, father, owned a junkyard where the background of his comedy special was performed in front of father's also gay. This man grew up in India at certain times of his life. This man is secretly a real estate mogul and also secretly, potentially, a Russian agent. Why I'm wearing the USA jacket. It's Mr. Dov Davidoff, folks.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Did I miss anything?
Sir.
Was that accurate?
Yeah, overall. I mean, the India thing was a commune. I stayed there for a little while. I didn't live there in any, I can't
Well, if you're a commune, I mean...
Yeah. No. They were staying on it was like a cult commune thing.
Well, because your mom, right? Your mom was in a cult.
My mother, but mostly they were upstate. They had land upstate where they would go. They were convinced that the apocalypse was inevitable and that there would be some sort of force field that would...
Do you feel growing up as a child, like, do you now as an adult, I meant to say, have like these feelings of like apocalypse can happen anytime?
No, not at all. And if it does, it does. You know what I mean? My beef with their operation wasn't that they wanted to create an organization that had higher ideals like some communes. I'm okay with that. It was the logistics. They were 4 hours north of New York City. And what, if the bombs drop, most of them lived in Manhattan.
Right.
So if the bombs drop, in their mind, they were going to make it out of the fucking Holland Tunnel. You can't get out of this town after a Knicks game, let alone a nuclear war. So that was my beef with the fucking commune.
With the commune. Yeah. So wait a second. So, well, two questions. One, did you actually enjoy growing up being the son of someone in a cult?
No, man, it was real strange. I grew up in a junkyard in Jersey, provincial landscape, as you know, growing up in Brooklyn. It's like, you couldn't tell anybody that.
No.
I couldn't explain that to anybody. I can barely explain it now. I've never even written jokes about it because it requires so much context. I can't.
Well, let me ask you, what do you think to growing up in New Jersey? As I know that I grew up in Brooklyn, New Jersey, very similar for the people.
Well, in some working class ways, there's kids that grow up in the Heights in Brooklyn, and it's like growing up in Beverly Hills for some kids.
So
it's all relative.
But for you, it's an
it was a working class
people, environment, and it's an interesting situation because you're like, well, what am I going to tell? Am I going to tell them my mother's in a cult or my dad's gay? Coin flip. Which you think would be the easier conversation with Johnny Junkyard Johnny from Jersey?
You can't have a conversation about either one. And so I think that's how you sometimes get into comedy. You got to reconcile things. But with these kids, the thing about kids is they'll take advantage of that which they can take advantage of.
Sure.
And then if you hit one of them in the face, they're less likely to take advantage later on.
This is what I do with Pimp and Venetia here. Yes.
Yeah. No, but I learned that early on. It's like nobody's gonna fight. Most people are not.
Well, it's interesting. You bring that up because, and I think that's the thing. Is because, when I started to, because, I've always been, we've spoken a lot. I've always, looked up to you for reasons even outside of comedy, and we'll get to those things. But I was always saying, like, because, you have such a passionate love of boxing. You're a good boxer, and I've seen you shadow.
Not so good. I'm okay.
But better than the average person. And I always thought, I wonder where, because my love of boxing and wanting to do boxing came later in life. Yeah. But everybody who I know, my friend Sergio Chacon, a couple of my other friends, Pete back home, they all kind of grew up in situations that almost boxing was a thing that they needed for their, I don't want to say survival, that might be a little extreme in some situations, but I found no reason to have to use my hands in my childhood where the people that I know have done it young did. And I was like, wow, Dov, I wonder where that came from. And then I look into your history a little bit, I'm like, I see cults, junkyards, prostitutes, India. I'm like, you're going to grow up throwing some hands. And
a little bit.
So, with you, I think, do you feel like, because it's fascinating to look back at someone who has a childhood like you and a life like you. But do you like your childhood, or do you think when you look back, you're like, I did not have a good childhood?
Look, man, these are fucking multi-layered, paradoxical considerations, you know?
Yes, this is Chrissy CHAOS. This is what we do on a weekly basis.
What we do.
Yeah.
We do this weekly, baby.
This is why I texted you yesterday. Is everything, can I ask anything?
Yeah, no. No, that's what makes it interesting. I mean, it's, I don't know, like anybody's childhood. I guess sometimes people look at it fondly, you know, but no, it was a relative struggle. Yeah. I'm not that fond of it.
Right. Well, and I would assume financially, if mom's in a cult, dad's owns a junkyard, it's not, the money is not, you didn't grow up relatively wealthy.
No, my father started to make money. My father was a hustler.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, the funny thing about him banging guys was that he was such a guy's guy, but then he ran people in a junkyard. I mean, that's a rough environment. Everybody had felonies, you know. I mean,
sure.
People don't work in a junkyard because they came out of Stanford MBA programs. And so when my father had to deal with these people, I mean, although, you know, admittedly, banging guys is relatively gay, so I'm not denying that.
I think it's the gayest thing you can do, according to the book.
It's up there. It's up there. It's up there. Yeah, no, it's like, I don't know, growing up in an environment like that. Yeah, it's just strange.
Yes.
Because you don't know how to reconcile it as a kid.
Yes.
You're looking around and you don't see anything that you can really relate to.
Do you feel too, you know, like when you find out your dad's gay, I would imagine, I could be wrong, there has to be something like, is that in me as well? Do you ever think about that?
Later on, I mean, I didn't find out till it was a little later. It was a little later. He was dying. AIDS. No, really.
He died of AIDS.
Died of AIDS.
Add that to the list, please, as another fascinating thing. Can I redo the intro?
No, but I didn't find out till later. It wasn't like he was open. You know what I mean?
Got
like
it.
He was with a woman. He was, you know, he banged broads as well. Don't get me wrong.
Had fun.
But, you know, yeah. So, no, later on, nah, it's not that neurotic, you know.
Did the gay homosexuality stuff with your dad come out when the cause of death was revealed as AIDS? Were you like, did he get that from the junkyard?
He didn't even just come out and say it was AIDS. He said he was sick. He wouldn't admit to me, you know, that he wasn't well. And then, you know, you put it together a little bit later in life, you know.
Oh, really? You started to actually put
I didn't know as a kid, you know.
Right.
I didn't know until I was 19, 20 something like that.
Did your mom know?
Yeah, she told me. But they had been divorced for a long time. But yeah, she said that that's what was going on, that kind of thing.
That's why she divorced him.
Nah, I think they got divorced for any number of other reasons. They had no business being married. They continued to live in the same house on different floors from one another for the following 10 years after the divorce while she was wrapped up in this commune. He's in a junkyard. It was a very odd deal. The whole operation was
right. But but it's interesting, as a child growing up in that, it's very easy to be like, this is normal.
No, I knew it wasn't normal because nobody around me could relate to it. And then my best friend was this kid that grew up in East Harlem. And so I used to spend a lot of time up there when I was 13, 14, 15. I came from a broken family. And, you know, and so it was a very odd triangle between the commune and a junkyard in East Harlem. You know, It was a weird life.
Did you feel the commune, when mom's taking you to the commune, was it kind of presented to you as, we're going to take a fun trip to India here? Or were you like, mom's like, we're going to the commune?
No, no. She's the real McCoy. They're not like smoking pot and fucking around. They're building earth-integrated housing. You know, she's hiding freeze-dried food, digging it into a mountainside. You understand.
It's real shit.
It's the real deal. You know, she's not walking around in bell-bottoms listening to music. I mean, these guys, they were for real.
For real.
Yeah, they spent all their dough building this organization. Yeah, they were serious.
So you're on that flight to India, and are you thinking, I may never see the United States again?
Nah.
You knew you were coming back.
We'd be back. Yeah,
what was the point of going to India then, in the commune?
Sai Baba's village. Why else would you go to India in 1988?
That's what happened. It wasn't to see Russell Peters.
No, we couldn't get tickets, so we went to see Sai Baba. No, Sai Baba was a spiritual leader out there. I mean, I think he was a bit of a hustler, but yeah, anyway.
So what was his name?
Sai Baba, Saibaba.
Is he still with? Does he passed away now?
I would imagine he's gone because he was probably in his 40s then.
I'd love to get him. Yeah, I'd love to get
you'd
him
like
on
to get
Zoom.
him on the cast.
Yeah, I'd love to get him on Zoom right now.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Side Bob. Yeah, this guy. Yeah. He passed away 2011.
Yeah.
Interesting mix. He's got the mix of Indian, but also got the afro. He looks clinically insane here.
Yeah.
Wow. So and you dealt with this man.
But I realized even as a kid, it's funny, like things early on with humor. It's like this guy, I think it was called Vibhuti, and he would do something with his hand and generate like metal, like a jewelry, like an earring, and he would use that to communicate his devotion and his status. Like he would do that to prove to the average desperate person that he was connected to a deity, that he was connected to something above us. So he produced this shit out of his hand. And then I kept hearing about how he produced, anyway, it was like, I think silver was cheap then. It was like, you're telling me everybody's poor. They don't have any money. This guy can produce metal, but nothing valuable. It's always like it's tin, or so you can't produce a piece of gold. You could feed everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, at 12 years old,
metal coming out of the fingertips. That means he's vaccinated.
Yeah, it means something. But produce something that.
Did you ever confront him at all?
No, as a kid, this guy's got probably a couple of thousand people in his village. It's not like he's going to put up with me walking up to him going, "Where's the gold?"
You're not a teenager in this scenario.
Back then, I was a kid. Yeah, I was
a child.
11 or child.
Would they give you stuff to do, like tasks?
No. Up on the commune, they give me a thing or two to do, but I was never good at hammering. I never built that. They would build earth and integrated houses.
What about your brothers and sisters? Are you an only child? Do you have siblings?
No, I have a brother. He's a psychologist.
He's a psychologist?
Yeah.
Do you think his passion for that was from the way he grew up?
I don't know if it's passion as much as you're trying to figure out a piece of your own experience, your own mind. And I would imagine, it's like sometimes the reason we do humor is you're sitting outside of something, looking in, and then you realize the absurdity of things, and you start to put it together in a way that feels like jokes, or it drives you to become a psychologist.
It's just what it is. Do you think that you're losing your virginity at 13 years old to someone in Mexico had anything to do with your upbringing, or were you just horny that day?
No, a little of both. You got to have somebody it's not on top of you in terms of parenting in order to generate the freedom to bang a whore at 13.
Yes.
But
was it in Mexico or she was Mexican?
No. I'm a gentleman. It was in Mexico. What do you think? I bang around looking for people from Mexico? I'm in Mexico.
Avocados.
When in Rome, baby.
Yes.
No. It was in Mexico.
And then do you feel as a 13-year-old boy that kind of, losing your virginity, like, do you feel like that had an impact on you, or you think as boys it doesn't matter? It was cool to go tell the guys in the junkyard.
I don't know. I think people when they're not, when they're inclined to take risk, do a lot of shit. And I think the kinds of people, if you're dyslexic and you don't fit in and you're whatever, you can.
Homeless pimp is looking right at you. He's like, "You're talking right to me, sir."
No. I think these personality types are kind of risk-seeking behavior. Sometimes dysfunctional, and sometimes it can lead you into interesting situations.
Now, I feel like it's interesting. Dating. Dating a girl. I don't know. It's interesting. At what date do you, if you're really not liking a woman, do you?
Third.
That's when you say I had a gay dad, mom in a cult.
Oh, no.
Oh, that.
I
okay.
thought you were talking about what.
I thought you said.
Like when you're dating, when do you touch her?
When do you, on the third date, you go, "Hey, I want to make believe I'm 13 in Mexico."
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's the thing. That's the thing is because you. It's almost like, I do comedy, right?
Yeah.
You do comedy. That's what we have in common. And I'm like, okay, my route to comedy was its own things. I wanted to always make my dad laugh. I always felt like this is a way to get attention and all those things. But it's positive. I felt like I chose in a positive addiction and a way to be cathartic and a way to kind of get things off my chest. And I like it. But your path to comedy, do you think it came It didn't. Did it come from you wanted to make people laugh because you wanted to see the joy on them, or were you trying to escape the darkness from your childhood?
I think maybe all of the above, but that word reconciliation sort of rings to me because it's like you feel less alone, less crazy when what you're communicating brings them some value, right? And that in turn brings you some value.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I would imagine some people to put the pieces together if you're a little, some, when they talk about turning to drugs and shit, it's like some of the same underlying reasons are there, that you'd get into comedy for, which is why there's so many busted up personalities in comedy.
Right.
So many busted up backgrounds.
Yeah, well, you're recovering was it drugs and alcohol or just drugs?
What do you mean?
You were in recovery.
No, me never.
You never were in recovery?
Never.
Oh, I thought that you were recovery. You have a look that says I'm in recovery. You have a You have a look that says I've overcome a lot of shit, all the stuff you've talked about, plus also heroin. And
No, right.
And now I'm in a very good place. Okay, sorry.
No, I probably because I'm a bit steeped in some of the psychological kind of, terms around all of this shit. A lot of the psychological.
So you're not in rehab at all?
You would have picked up in rehab. No, not at all. I've never had an addictive personality in that way. Thank
Interesting.
God. Never.
And your brother? Nobody. Nope.
No,
The growing
my
up.
brother's a relative teetotaler.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you don't drink, right? You have whiskey in your coffee.
No. I can drink or not drink.
Right. Drugs? No. We're not doing drugs.
No. Back in the day, listen, I'm not. Yeah, I wasn't afraid of a line of cocaine.
It happens.
But no, never a thing.
It's not. See and that's that non-addictive person. I feel the same. I feel like I can drink, not drink. It's never been an addiction to me. But I just thought from the type of life you had that it was like, oh, you might have to escape for some drugs or alcohol. But the fact you did it, that's a lot of that's a lot of strength.
No. I always have my eye on the prize. Even with business, it's like early on when I got into comedy, I was running the numbers, and so like I was doing. You can't run numbers as an artist, but you can go, listen, this is a crazy game, you know, and start to run those numbers. And so I was never, when I saw people getting high, I was like, oh, this is.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
That ain't going to work.
So that's why, too, you're talking about running numbers. We're talking a lot recently on this podcast. I've had a monumental spiritual, not spiritual, but I've had a shift in I'm starting to feel now, I'm 38. I'm starting to feel like I, had a couple of good years with my career.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to feel like, how do I put the same passion and creativity that I put into comedy, put that into now finance? Because I would always say, oh, I don't want to be the guy who's 50 years old who has to go on the road and
you gotta think
go
about
to date.
it like you're a prize fighter or an actress or a model. Like listen, your career may be 100 years long, but you have to know that showbiz does not reward people for getting older.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
Where some things do. As an investor, there's no cap on that. You can be 75, make quality decisions. As an entertainer, it's a bit of a hamster wheel.
Right.
And if you want to ever be able to step off it, you got to start to think about things proportionately, separate the difference between need and want, get lifestyle dialed in. Otherwise, it's a fucking mess.
Right. Yeah.
People spend money just like it's like a drug. It's like they just throw it out. If you are an emotional deficit that you haven't reconciled,
Yeah.
if you need attention and you're not getting it one way, or you need to get high with endorphins, it could be social media, it could be something else. If you worship the way you look, you'll die 1,000 deaths as you get older. If you worship money, you'll die.
Right. Like you're
ends.
Out of all of us, it seems. You're the one who has the best head for investments. I think other comics come to you with investment opportunity, investment ideas, the real estate stuff that you do.
I'm the one-eyed man in the land of the blind in that regard. Yeah.
But do you feel like you have a fear of money? What is your relationship with money in business?
It's got to, listen, we live in a capitalist society, and so I want to make sure, but I want to make sure that I'm not somebody that canceling. My tenants are still going to pay their rent, whether or not I offend somebody with a delicate sense of language.
Right.
It seems the whole notion of these social framework, it seems fragile. doesn't mean some people haven't done well, and you've done well. It just means that I don't understand the underpinnings, and I have to learn more about it. Like
Right.
I've hired a social media, edit stuff,
Yeah.
put up clips. I have to get
Yeah.
more active because it's a tool
Right.
that you have to
Benedict will be
interface
sending you
with.
an email after this.
What's that?
She's going to want to run your social media. She does a good price.
Yeah, no, listen, I really, it's a fucking tool that if you don't grapple with
Yeah.
it, and so
Yeah.
anyway.
So because
Yeah.
I think too, with your, comedy, it seemed like you've used the money in entertainment as, you always are thinking about how can I invest this? How can I make this money work for me? Because when we spoke last summer, I think I showed you my bank account, because it was, I will very openly admit, I had new money, and nobody in my family ever had money. I never even saw more than nobody ever had more than a few grand ever. No, everybody's paycheck to paycheck, and I had some opportunities, and I was like getting used to the idea of look at the money in my bank account, but it's just sitting in a Chase account, very foolish, not doing anything.
Melting ice cube in an inflationary environment.
Yes, and I thought, tweet that, and I that's the name of the episode, and I now realize that how foolish of me, not foolish, but I'm learning now, hey, if I'm going to want to be the guy who doesn't have to go on the road, yes, it will be creative choices I make that could get me there, but also the foolproof way is financial choices will get me there. What am I doing? How am I making it work for you?
It's all game theory, and so
Right.
you want to create the best probability possible that you'll be able to achieve that level of freedom, and you can't bet on, it's hard to bet on some creative endeavor. It doesn't mean don't spend 99% of your energy. It's just know that a T-bill is a risk-free rate of return unless the U.S. government goes out of business.
That's a treasury bill.
T-bill is a treasury
Just
bill.
F4 for the kids at home.
Right, I'm sorry. Yeah, and so that's...
Got to explain it to these fucking retards, right?
No, but nobody, financially, nobody seems... Listen, if Johnny Depp can go broke and half of all athletes, it's like, people have to respect that.
Yes.
And so, you don't want to throw... I don't know. If I were giving financial advice to somebody, I would say start with rap music. Listen to it and do the polar opposite. Literally, don't do a fucking thing one of those guys are yelling about. I mean, unless I don't know, unless Jay-Z was talking about how how he should have bought property in Dumbo as opposed to blowing it on depreciating assets. But and also if you dial in, it's like. Most people acquire things because of their emotional needs. It's not the things themselves. I'm talking about over and above my kid's in a safe environment. I have a decent place to live.
Right.
Oh, those needs are correlated with money. I'm not saying money doesn't solve that.
Right.
I'm saying after that. We know what the statistics are. It's not working.
Right.
You pick up a fucking entertainment biography and you'll see suicide and addiction and they're everywhere. Those stories.
Well, that's what that you bring up the interesting point where I think that it just because I think if your relationship with money is not a good one, if you're fearful of it, or if you said you're using it to fill voids, it doesn't matter if you have $1 million or $20 million, you'll spend it all.
Talk to Johnny Depp about it. It's going.
So I didn't know that. Johnny Depp has got nothing.
Well, no, he may still have some, depending on what he sold and but he got fucked up real bad financially.
Yeah,
you have an enormous nut. Talk to MC Hammer, or 50% of people that ever played for the NFL. I mean, this is not Dove's opinion. This is
reality. This is real stuff.
Statistics.
So your main investment strategy for you personally is real estate. That's where you go.
No, I can go somewhere else. I mean, I bought a mortgage, so it's connected to real estate. I don't mind being the bank if you can collateralize the loan. But
what kind of interest rates are you given on the loan?
In this case, it's about 10. It's more of a hard money situation.
Not bad.
Prime is around 7 right now. But it's just about whatever you...
Yeah.
Listen, you need some luck. But overall, if you think about if somebody gets a paycheck, if you spend the principal, you got nothing left, right?
Right.
If there's $1 million or $100,000 or $1, it doesn't change the percentages. It's like you can buy that building over there, it produces a 6% rate of return. Over time, it will likely rise in value, but you got to not touch the principal. And that takes discipline. The human animal thinks in terms of tomorrow and the next day and next week.
Right.
And if you think like that, it's not going to go well over time. Or if you spend your money on fucking bottle service to impress some broad that's attracted to bottle service, it's not the one you want in the first place.
Yeah.
You're going to end up hating her. You're going to end up hating yourself. She's going to end up hating you. The whole thing's a circular mess. What do you want to pull up outside the Comedy Cellar in a Lamborghini? Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
You retard.
Yes. So that's
Pack of morons.
So really, do you think then for, anybody really, it's not rocket science, investing and money, making money.
No.
You think it's just about knowing, like, for example.
Psychological, it's emotional. You gotta dial shit in and also know where your stress limits are.
Now, I've also found, and this is why, I appreciate having conversations with you, and we've had conversations, even you doing it publicly now for me, is because I personally think like it's better to talk to people like somebody like you who has a wealth of knowledge about finances and business because you're not taking a percentage off me. You have no stake in the game. But when you talk to someone who's, even if they're going to take 1%, which a lot of people think, it's little, financial plan of 1%, that turns out to a lot of money over the course of a lifetime. They'll always try to do what's best for them, not what's best for you.
Human nature is such that people are generally inclined to be self-serving. Some people are more altruistic, and you can trust them, and that's a gauge. You understand urban environments and the street and people, and so you got to assess whether or not you believe the person. But it's best to hear advice from somebody that has no skin in that game.
Yeah, so I think, in this, like for people listening at home, not me, for the people listening at home, what would you say with like a recession?
Use the Socratic method. Don't try to get technical with these people at home. Need to think, one, I'm going to buy this. Why?
Okay.
Right? And then you go, I like it. It's nice. It's shiny. You go, why do you like shiny things? And you could buy shiny things for less. One, just start to think more reflectively, and then you'll make fewer dumb decisions.
Right.
And then in terms of actual investment in an environment, like unless you're really going to get into finance or business or entrepreneurship, then you would, Warren Buffett he said, put your money in the S&P. Most hedge funds don't beat the S&P over time, right? Most guys can't beat that. And so it's like, it's time in the market, not timing the market. If somebody wants to diversify and get a little bit more technical and beat the market, that's a different conversation.
Right.
But overall, people have to forego today for tomorrow. That's the operative concept. It's always foregoing today for tomorrow. In a relationship, in a career, in writing a joke.
In fasting and intermittent
you can
fasting.
Dick jokes, intermittent fasting,
dieting,
overtime. Yes, all of this shit.
So let me give you a situation. Let's say,
I'm a full heterosexual. I will take
Let's say for people out there, because people have read this on the Patreon, let's say you had 200 cash. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
What would you do? What do you think would be the best decision with that? I got 200.
There's no one best decision. It depends on your objective.
Not mine. There's Patreon.
Okay, so if you got 200 and you live in an environment where you want to stay there for the next X amount of years and you believe that it's a growing city or town and you want to put the money down on a house for somebody that doesn't want to get involved in entrepreneurial projects, that could be a wonderful use for it because you can't remove the principal. So psychologically, you're protecting yourself from your own weaknesses, right? If I buy that building and I take leverage out on it, after expenses, I'm making a small amount of money. Mm-hmm. But the building is worth X. And over time, as that appreciates in value, I may be able to refinance. But for the next 5-6 years, I cannot take U.S. dollars out of that structure.
Right.
It's a liquidity experience. Kind of consideration. Liquidity meaning I forego the liquidity today. I don't buy that thing over there. But 10 years from now, so let me give you a concrete example.
Yeah.
When I bought Ludlow, and there's a lot of luck involved in this, so I'm not attributing it to brilliance. Ludlow was 200 grand down, roughly a $500,000 loan, right?
Okay.
But it was on the corner of Ludlow and Rivington in an environment that I believed was going to gentrify, and it did. It rose in value.
You made a great investment.
Yeah, but even if it wasn't a great investment, it still would have been better than blowing it on a fucking depreciating asset. You understand?
Right.
if you took the 200 grand and you bought a Mercedes with it, that Mercedes is worth 50% of that 200 2 years later, 3 years later, 4 years later. And if that 200, assuming that 200 is net, if you made 200 and hasn't been taxed yet, it's really 130.
Is it okay, in your opinion, to lease a depreciating asset like a car?
You could buy whatever you want. I drive a Porsche in Manhattan. I'm not a hippie.
But you lease it. You lease it.
No, I bought it.
Oh, you bought. Okay, so
I financed
So you
it.
bought a depreciating asset.
I did, but I could afford to buy it. I didn't take the $200,000 that I had to invest. After you develop a multi-million-dollar portfolio and you want to fucking blow a little bit of money on
You
something,
have fun a
go
little
ahead.
bit. Yeah, I fly business class United.
But what's the worst?
Yeah, business class can suck it.
What's the worst investment that you've ever made, or a marketplace you went into that you regret?
I bought a house, then I got divorced, and then I sold it into a shitty
She's
environment right after COVID.
No,
Yeah. And now I'd like to bring her in and hit her in the face. No, actually, we really like each other.
Oh, it's amazing.
She's one of my close friends.
That's actually a beautiful thing. And I want to get to that too.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's nice to get to that situation.
Let's
talk about
thing
the
in life.
finances.
It's always-
'cause-
all right, we'll put a cap on the
need to make some
finances
moves.
thing. The 200 turned into it was $700,000 acquisition price, right?
Okay.
Over the course of 10 years, it became a $4 million asset.
Right.
I sold it. I don't want to drag people through the granular tax stuff, but I 1031 tax-free exchanged into another deal.
Bang.
Bang. Yeah, exactly. Bang. But the point is, the 200 ended up returning 14x on the money, right? It turned
Which you
into $3
cannot
million.
get that in the stock market or anywhere else. This is only real estate. It gets the
it's
best
not only
returns.
real estate in theory. No, I'm not saying returns are better. It just depends on where and when and all of that. But the most important thing is you generate an investment mindset and begin to put money away, forego today for tomorrow. That's the most important thing. That 200 grand, instead of becoming 3 million, would have bought a nice car, a high-end car, and then I could have drove around Soho trying to pick up girls on Wooster Street.
Right. Acting like your dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you said Soho.
No, my father did that. No, but what kind of life would that entail? You would what? You would use spinner bait, like shiny stuff, to try to pick up shiny people that you're not going to engender genuine relationship with anyway. And so one thing we know about happiness is usually built on relationships. And when you look back from your deathbed at 80 years old on what would I have done, what would I have liked to do, it's spend time with my kids, engender decent relationships with decent people.
Yes.
I don't need to be competing with anybody at a fucking table of bottle service.
Right.
If I'm having a big dick contest with somebody that just paid $900 for an $82 bottle of vodka, then I've lost before the game began.
No,
So-
I got myself into a situation just last month. I had shows down at the Fontainebleau in Miami. Beautiful club.
Cool. Yeah.
You know, I it was a sold out show. It was a nice paycheck.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, what's right next door? Live Miami, the famous
name
nightclub.
of the
And I
game,
went in
baby.
there with my boys.
Yeah.
And of course, I got hit with the bill
course.
and half the check. And but again, it was part of this change in me where I was like, that doesn't feel good. I was not beating my chest. I was like, what a poor, stupid decision. You just took this money you could have invested for not only your future, your children's future, and you put it on the bottle service for patty fly balls?
Right.
What are you doing? So it's this shift in me that's happening
very
out.
smart.
Because
it's okay to do it once in a while. You earn the right to do it once in a while. Just don't have it in perspective.
Right.
And beat yourself up for it the next day.
Yeah, no, that's what I did. I beat myself up for it the next day, and I said, because it was a lot of time where I spent about, I made poor financial decisions. I just let that money sit there. I didn't invest, but I'm over that. I'm like, it's tomorrow, the future.
Yeah.
So just make the good decisions
That's
now.
right. Yeah.
So would you say with let's say an investment property on a mortgage are you of the mindset that you don't like to spend your own money, you spend loan money, or if you have the cash, you'll buy it you'll buy it outright?
Well, no, it all depends on the deal. If I'm in an environment where debt is inexpensive historically, like it was 2 years ago, you could borrow money for 3%. Today, that same loan is around between 6 and 7%. That's expensive debt. And so unless the price of that asset comes down, I'm less likely to want to borrow the money to buy the asset. It's simply, it's a capital stack question. It's like, there's nothing wrong with conservative leverage. That's how we facilitate credit markets and capitalism in general. Most companies borrow money to acquire equipment. It's capital expenditure.
Right.
But it's like, as you're deleveraging, so when you're trying to grow, you want leverage.
Right.
When you're trying to live off passive income, you want to deleverage. And so it just depends where you are in your life and what you're trying to do. The one thing you never want to do is over leverage.
Right.
Because then if there's a downturn in the market,
Now I got to sell properties.
you know what happened on Broadway right here in Soho, right?
Summer's coming. Are you ready to unveil your beach spot? Have you been intermittent fasting? Well, even if you haven't been, guess what you can be doing? And you can start it today. Manscaped, baby. That's right. They are here to ensure that your body is ready for the wild, wild time you're going to have this summer. They literally are going to make your meat look amazing, okay? We got the Lawnmower 4.0, which is waterproof because a lot of you sweaty bastards. Cordless body trimmer. They have the Crop Preserver ball deodorant, which I use all the time. Sometimes I use it on my pits. The Crop Reviver ball toner, an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. This literally is a lifesaver. The Crop Reviver is a lifesaver. I used to chafe all day, every day. It was Chrissy Shakes. Not anymore, okay? Not anymore when we're in a bathing suit, even when I'm walking around bucky-ass naked. I'm using the Crop Reviver, and my balls feel toned. You also get 2 free gifts with Manscaped. Okay, you get the Shed Travel Bag for a $39 value add and the patented high performance reduced chafing Manscaped boxers. All you got to do is go to manscaped.com right now. Use that promo code CHAOS, CHAOS. You're going to get 20% off plus free shipping. That's manscaped.com. Promo code CHAOS, 20% off plus free shipping. It's going to be amazing. Trim your chesticles with the besticles. KiwiCo. This is one of my favorite sponsors on the show. I actively use it with the children and my family. If you have kids, even if you don't have kids, if you are just looking for something to do to get you off your device, to get you in the present, to get you doing something with your hands, KiwiCo is the place for you. KiwiCo believes that every kid is naturally creative and curious, and that hands-on experiences build creative confidence and problem-solving skills that can change the world. And baby, they are right. They do science. They play sensory games. They do geography. Every crate is designed by the team of experts to inspire the young minds. It is awesome. I've done this with my kids. We've made headphones. We've made lava volcanoes. We've made pinball machines. And literally, we're bonding as a family where the kids are not watching TV. They're not on the devices. We're just making stuff, and everybody's happy, and then it's useful. And literally, KiwiCo projects are designed by a team of educators, makers, engineers, even rocket scientists who brainstorm hundreds of ideas, and they create awesome, exciting, age-appropriate designs for the kids, and it is awesome. Right now, if you go to KiwiCo.com, that's KiwiCo.com/chaos, you're going to get 50% off your first month plus free shipping on any crate line at KiwiCo.com/chaos. Go do that right now. 50% off your first month plus free shipping on any crate line at KiwiCo.com/chaos. That's 50% off your first month at KiwiCo.com/chaos.
Because then if there's a downturn in the market,
Now I got to sell properties.
you know what happened on Broadway right here in Soho, right? So this was one of the most high-end or expensive retail environments in the country, right here, this retail corridor that used to be on Broadway.
Yeah.
Now it looks like, half a strip mall. But
Yes.
it's gone down, I heard, by roughly 50% from its high.
Wow.
So had you bought that building, let's say it's 3 or 4 floors high, and a significant percentage of your income comes from that retail lease, right? You buy that building, you think you're a wealthy guy, you pay $20 million for a small building in Soho, and then, not so small, but, and then the retail drops by 50%. If you're over-levered, it's now worth nothing. You have less. You now own an asset where the money you put in is no longer there. You're upside down in that capital stack because you took on too much leverage and you experienced a setback.
So somebody who's like, we got a lot of fans in the middle of the country, truck drivers, all those people that maybe they're making 40, 50 grand a year. What would you?
They shouldn't be turning to this podcast for financial advice. But I think it's real important that you're talking about it. No, really, it's like
I'm trying.
It is super important. No,
Yeah.
it is, and I would like.
You'd
to
be
talk
surprised
about
how
it
many of
more.
our peers don't know anything
Oh, listen,
about the finances. I'm going to say the names of the
you're
Patreon.
you're a Buffett Munger Musk compared to the average comedian. No doubt about it.
You think Mark Norman? No, Mark Norman actually does know shit.
Listen, I don't know, but it's definitely the land of the blind. If you got one eye in the game of comedians on finance, then it's a wealth of education.
So what would you say though? Would you say are you about like what do you think? Like what are the good investments?
It's all entirely relative to age, duration, time. Like what do you want to do? Do you want to make sure the kids got money to go to school? Do you want to buy a house? Do you like how long do you have to invest? So historically, when you're young, you can afford to take more leverage and more risk, right? So you put more money into risk assets. And when you're older, you want to take less risk because if you're 60 and you need the money to live on, you don't want to incur the risk of the market falling by 30% over the course of 3 or 4 years. If you're 28 years old and the market falls by 30%, it shouldn't concern you at all. Because by the time you're 50, whatever you put up historically doubles every 10 years, assuming you don't pull it out when things get stressful. And so it's time in the market, not time in
out.
The market.
So yeah, because I feel like, with comedy even or even, I mean, it's just that specific to us, but anybody investing anything, it's just it's a great second stream of revenue. Like you don't worry about comedy as much as some of us.
I don't worry about it enough. Had I started getting into podcasting when everybody else was jumping at it, for me, it was not a profitable move.
So that's interesting. So you feel
I lost opportunity because I had money.
Right. So even as well as you've done with real estate and you've built, a good.
I would like to have more leverage as a comic.
Interesting.
It's like,
so you still think that? So
I want to develop a better interface with this social media world so that I can generate better ticket sales, have more choices. You know what I mean? Just have more choices on projects and things like that. It'd be a fun, creative thing to do.
I do have one question.
Go.
I was looking at something trending with mortgages that now if you have good credit, you pay a tax for the people with bad credit.
There is some. I was watching on CNBC the other day. We don't want to drag them through the granular thing, but there is some program.
Yeah, I'm the new host at 8 p.m. on Fox News, by the way. I just want to throw that out there.
There's a lot of shit going on right now financially that affects everybody. It's we're all like frogs in a pot as the water starts to heat up. We don't know it until it's too hot. And so like home affordability right now is at a historic low. It's not just because the price of the home went up, but the payment on the debt has doubled as the home went up. So that's the problem. It's like it turns people. So many more people are renting now than used to be able to afford to buy in the 19.
So that's what I'm saying. So with that being said, if you have a little scratch all,
Yeah.
now would actually be a good time to buy if you're looking to invest, because the rent, so many people want to rent, even though it's a higher interest rate and you're paying a little bit more. The renter market is so good. Or
Yeah, the way to experience that or express that is just through cap rates. If you can buy at the right cap rate, the right capitalization rate on the money in.
So what does that mean, the cap rate? Again,
Cap
for
rate's
these
just a
fucking
metric.
retards. It's not for me. It's for these assholes.
No, it's just it's just a metric to assess how expensive one structure is relative to another. And so if the cap rate is the higher the cap rate, the cheaper the deal, right?
Okay.
And so if I'm putting $100,000 into something at a 6% cap rate and I don't take any leverage, in theory, I'm making 6% of my money over the course of a year. A building in the West Village trades like a bond. It's like a 3.5 cap or something.
Okay.
So it's over time. I don't want to drag people through cap rates, but basically it's just a metric comparison. It's just saying after expenses, you're left with a net operating income, an NOI. That NOI will tell you whether or not the building is a good deal relative to the amount you're buying it for.
Okay.
And so when you compare that, that's your comparison metric. You're going, okay, that car is an 8-cylinder motor, that car's an 8-cylinder motor. It's comparable in every way, except that car's $20,000 more. Why is that the case? And if you don't have an answer for that, it probably means you're paying too much. And so it's just a way to, it's a CBA, it's a cost-benefit analysis.
Interesting.
It's a way to apply one number to a set of experiences commercially.
So your very first entry into real estate, how old were you?
I knew nothing about cap rates. Early 20s.
Early 20s, and you just got into it, what, with your friends? Like, how did you even come to the mindset to be like, I got to own a building?
My father ran a junkyard, and the way he separated himself from genuinely, he grew up very poor, and he bought this old fucking rundown thing, and he rented it out as a kid. So maybe it was in the back of my head.
To buy and rent out.
Yeah, I thought, what am I going to live like a fucking Gentile? I spent it on shiny shit.
Yeah.
I put the money somewhere where you turn a nickel into a dime, and nobody, generally goes broke making some sort of profit.
Right. Now, have you been throughout your career in this real estate deals that have not went well and you've had to get out of, or that you regret?
They're not generally catastrophic, but I've had difficult experiences. You're always going to pay a price for any door you open. Nobody can go out and make margin without paying a price. My tenant, I evicted them, then they sued me. There was another lawsuit with an insurance company, wouldn't pay out. Stressed the fuck out of my mind during COVID. I had a $60,000 mortgage per month mortgage payment on a development, on the Brooklyn development on Nostrand Avenue.
Yeah.
It's a $7 million construction.
You could have got a lot of Yeezys with that.
I could, like a dummy, I didn't buy Yeezys.
Yeah. So,
no, but yeah, so I was stressed out of my mind during certain places.
Now let's shift into the other fascinating part of your life to me is you're somebody who, when I first met you, you were Dov, you were single, then you had, your beautiful girlfriend, turned into the wife, now ex-wife.
Beauty's overrated too. If we could all separate, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you got to find where the value is
right.
in the thing, Unfortunately, you got to want to fuck them too.
Yes.
It would open up
I'd
be dating a brain surgeon right now if I didn't have to want to bang,
Right.
So sad.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And so, I agree. And then you had a child a little bit later on.
Oh, yeah.
In life. Like you were at a point where you never thought you would have a child, and then you had a child.
That's why I got married. I wanted a kid, and I said, I got a 50-50 shot at this relationship working out, or I can go back out into the marketplace. I ran a quick CBA, developed a cap rate, said I got to have a kid with this person. Otherwise, I could be, walking around with Natterman in my 70s with no kid.
Yeah, with
the great Dan Natterman.
With the great Dan Natterman.
You could do worse, but,
Yeah. So.
Then got a divorce. My kid's now 4, but we really put together an operation that, that the co-parenting thing.
It works. You look at that as a business as well.
I am the most, my marriage is the most successful failure that there's ever been. The divorce is a failure of the marriage, obviously.
Sure.
But it's been so, it really worked. We're just much better.
Much better, and your child is much better off.
It's great. He stays with me 2 or 3 days a week in the city. He stays with his mother in Livingston, New Jersey.
Which you own that place?
The rest, no, I don't own that place.
So she.
They have her own operation.
I was going to say, because what happens if she's late with the rent?
Nah, she's remarried. And
is she?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. But no, it's good, man. It's good. We dialed it in, but that's stressful.
Right.
Fucking divorce during COVID. That's a hustle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't even bang other bros.
Yeah, dude, I know. I'd rather be in
got
fucking
a mask
Wuhan.
Yeah.
Wow.
I felt like I was in the Han.
So that's beautiful now. And so now what is your plan as a father? When do you start to introduce your child to these types of strategies and ideas? Like how have you thought about that? Because I was me, I got 2 kids, and I'm trying, even though I don't know anything, I'm just learning. I'm already trying to talk to my 7-year-old about, because she has a piggy bank with money, and I'm already talking to her about like, well, how can we make these, this $20, how can we turn it into 40? What can we do? And she's like, oh, what if I open up a lemonade stand and think little things like that. And I'm like, well, it's something. I read books. Warren Buffett's buying his first stock at 11 years old. Like, it's never too early. But again, I don't have the experience
Right.
just yet. I'm acquiring that now, but you do. So what do you think?
Listen, we're all learning, man. The learning never ends. I think we all got to stay curious and personally responsible, and then hopefully that leads us to the answers that are more right than not, because
Right.
the smartest guys in the world are all making mistakes. It's just you want to make better mistakes. You don't want to make dopey mistakes. But as far as the kid, first we're going to let him decide his own gender.
Yes. Yes.
And then after that,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
so, and two, like with what, it's interesting. I feel like because financially, a lot of us, me personally, my main motivation for sometimes, having to get out on the road and do those things, even though I love performing and I would do it for free. I did it still more. I still have done, I believe, stand up more times for free than I've gotten paid. I still believe that number to be higher. It's getting closer now, but it's still higher. But sometimes they're like, I'm really doing this because I got to make money. I got to pay the bills. I got a family. You are making money off your other stuff, but yet you still get out there and want
to a degree. It's like you see all of these entertainers and actors, some of whom have had really big careers, and they're all like, I got expenses, I got to go meet my nut. It's like you've done something wrong along the way if you've made a lot of dough and you're still running out for more income. If you want to chase the dough or you just enjoy doing it, that's a different conversation. But if somebody's had a big career and they still got to hustle, they're still on the treadmill, it means they didn't control for things they could have controlled for early on.
And that's what I'm getting at too, is because I think we have a big lack of financial education problem in this country. Like other countries,
also
they
have
teach
an acquiring problem, right?
Right.
Like personal, like I don't need a lot of shit. I'm also not a hippie. I don't mind paying for things, but like I don't know. I just don't like. I lived in a house with, a number of bedrooms, and it never once made me feel better than living in a smaller place. Not one time.
Yeah.
And it's like, so what are we actually paying for? It's that Socratic method. And then you realize like the only reason people buy big houses, it's vestigial. People used to have mansions because they had manors. There were lords of the manor, and they had staff, and they had people around, and there was actually use for the space. There was utility. Now a single athlete with no children that occupies a 10,000-foot house, it's clearly brought about by not thinking deeply about the acquisition.
Right.
And you're paying lots of taxes and you're funding lots of lifestyle that will not translate to a feeling of contentment. And you can go broke like that.
Yeah. I think, I live in a house, 4 or 5 bedroom house, and love it. And because it's interesting. I was living in a small apartment. We were living, me, my girl, the 3 kids, and it, we had our problems with it. But my biggest gripe, my biggest thing, was my daughter's bedroom at the apartment didn't have a window. Did not have a window, and I was like, I got to get my daughter a house, a bedroom with a window, and
money will make you happy in that context.
They had this little pool, and I was like, I want a house for her with a pool. All that to say,
it's great
now, but. The reason why I'm bringing it up is to say, my daughter, I was like, I remember when we first got to the house, not the first night, but like a couple of nights in when she was getting comfortable, I was like, babe, I was laying in bed with her, putting her to sleep. I was like, how great is this? Look, you got a window. And she was like, I don't want the window. She was like, I don't like my room. I was like, why do you not like your room? She's like, because it's so much further away from your and mom's room now. Where in the apartment, it was right there. And now I've noticed too, as a family, we have this beautiful house. We have this. Everybody has space. That's what I was obsessed with. Let's get space. And now what? Now everybody's alone.
Ironic.
My stepson sits in his room by himself. My daughter's in the basement by herself. My little one is little, but half the time, my girl is helping the little one change the diapers. Now I have to go up a flight of stairs to help when everybody was just more with each other. And if we wanted to go to a pool, we would either go to a friend's house or we'd go to a public pool. We'd go to the beach. Where now it's like we have all these things and we barely use them. And it's a learning lesson for me that kind of hits exactly what you said. Now, as far as that goes, my family wants to stay there and they like it. And financially I didn't overpay, and I got a 3.8 interest rate. So I got a good, you keep it. But if it wasn't true, if I had the high interest rate, I would be looking to sell immediately and go back to an apartment life because I feel I've realized also, even though I have amazing, beautiful neighbors, we're all in our little islands. We're all in our little manors. Where Bay Ridge, when I was living in an apartment, every night when it was nice out, we'd all sit on the stoop and the entire community would come out. And that's what I sit and think about all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think now, like, okay, like you said, like, why do you want the space? Even, you know, with marriage, I didn't know this. The idea of love being in a marriage is a very, very new concept. That's like 100 for the majority of human existence. It's been you marry. It's a business decision. It's a deal.
Yeah.
We're
I'm saying
combining.
the idea of love is a luxury. The union is a utility arrangement.
That's what it always was.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm out. I'm towing the fucking field with a yak. I need some shit done in the house. I can't have some cream puff back there. I need a woman who gets to work.
Yeah. Drinking a fucking Bud Light.
No, but but no, it makes perfect sense.
So do you feel happy? Do you feel the happiest you've ever been in your life is now, or the other times in your life where you were happier? I ask everybody
It's
that.
not. Listen, it's a good question, and whether or not you ask other people doesn't mean anything to me. But yeah, it's a good question. But I don't know. There was a kind of 25-year-old happiness, running around when things were still new and exciting.
Oh yeah.
And then there's the happiness of not banging for 2 weeks at a clip. It's no. It's like no. It's different. With a kid, you know that.
Sure.
It's a different kind of happiness. You're experiencing it through them sometimes,
right.
as opposed to the more self-serving happiness.
Right.
Somebody once said, like, fatherhood done right is the death of narcissism. Like, you can't, it's not just about you. So it's a different kind.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like that's a thing that I've learned about being a parent is you inevitably, because if you're doing it the right way, you have to put yourself in second or third place because there's people before you.
Yeah.
So this whole idea of me becomes, well, I'm paying this mortgage or I'm doing these things because it's really for somebody else more than me.
Yeah.
And you're right. It kind of makes the narcissism go away a little bit. Or
a little bit. Yeah. No, it's still in there. We're human.
I mean, we're still doing stand-up every night. We're like, look at me.
I know. But, sometimes when you're really trying to figure out the joke and do some other shit, like, it's not just look at me. If it's done really well,
Right.
like if you're trying to do interesting shit, I mean, there's still a look at me element of it, but.
Yeah.
Now, you never lost yourself in the money or the ego of having money?
No, it all feels absurd, and then there's always something to remind you every day of, like, I'm an idiot,
Right.
and we're all these little animals crawling around with largely the same behavioral habits as much of the animal kingdom.
Right.
A gorilla family does not behave that much differently, but it's just a more elaborate dance. A shiny car or something like that is no different from a bird doing a dance with a fucking shiny tail.
But you're very rare. Now, the people you're doing deals with, they're not egomaniacs?
I don't know. I don't know. The people I listen to on podcasts aren't comedians. I listen to thoughtful, reflective people. Not that comedians aren't.
No, not podcasting. Like when you're in the
Oh, no, but
business
I'm
world.
saying yes, there's the world, and I don't know. I don't do well with people. I see it coming from far away, so
Right.
I won't involve myself with a partner who operates through a lot of ego. I just wouldn't involve myself
Like
with
for
that.
people going into business, what are these traits you see?
Somebody that's thoughtful, reflective, curious, makes eye contact. If you listen to Warren Buffett, there's no ego in
No.
it. Just listen to really smart people that have done something reasonably well, and you'll usually find some through line of that is not
I heard
noisy.
I heard Warren Buffett talking too about finance and all that stuff, and he was like, like this. You have to start to. Like a lot of people just go off learned behaviors. A lot of people just naturally are followers. It's safety, right? We just follow whatever.
You're
It's
a human
when
animal.
people make these comments, oh, all rich people are evil or rich people are douchebags. He's like, you have to question who taught you that. Why you have a learned
It's
response
also
to that.
wildly oversimplistic.
Yeah, and it's
right?
like, what is the negative? His opinion is like, what is the negative of me acquiring wealth in a capitalist country? And why does it feel like because I have money that I have to, I will give it to charities and do things like that? But you have to think about where your experience and point of view is coming from.
No doubt
with that,
about
and
it.
he's the big one where I say now, like, do not have a fear of money. You have to question what is your relationship with money, because if your relationship with money is a negative one and a fearful one, then it doesn't matter if you have 60 million, you'll blow it. Where it doesn't. The money doesn't matter. Because he said commonly people will say, "Oh, if I could just get my 15 million, I'd be happy, be free." You will never. That will turn into 30.
or zero. It
Right.
all depends on like that's not how, I don't know. I mean, it's just not how life works. Read Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome.
Yeah.
Couple
His
of
talks,
1,000
his
years
meditations.
ago. He's very, very clear on the what happens to the human spirit when you follow false gods. I mean,
Yeah.
this is I don't even know. It's so clearly the case. We have so many. We have there a great deal of data that correlates this notion of happiness from money. It's like after you have some freedom and your kids are safe and educated
Right.
and have healthcare, like after that, there's marginal utility in money.
Right.
The next jet or the next expensive piece of clothing or whatever, like it doesn't, that's not how human beings work.
No, I've actually found, I just did this about 2 weeks ago. I had, and again, some of this is from.
And I'll spend $100,000 on a car. I'm this is coming from a non-hippie. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I'm not.
There has to be
eschewing
some
any of it.
degree of guilt-free spending. You're enjoying your life. It's just
Yeah.
if it works for you and what percentage
I'm just
of your
saying,
income.
don't be confused about happiness.
Right.
Happiness comes from my kid is safe.
Yes.
My ex-wife is taken care of. And like those kinds of things create a feeling of
Yeah.
contentment. If you're looking for happy, I don't know what kind of buzz you're looking for. I mean, some people do that with drugs. Some people do it with mindless spending. None
Right.
of it's going to work in the long run.
Right. Yeah. I think, they did, I read this book, the five things you must know before you die. And this guy, this writer, John Izzo, he just interviewed people on their deathbed from all different cultures. And they all said the
Excellent
same
idea.
thing.
What a great idea.
Nobody thought about their Bentleys.
Nobody
or
says,
their
I wish
money.
I made another 10 grand.
It was
Nobody
just their
says
kids.
that.
So it's like his thing was, but it's a hard thing for your mind to
It's hard.
kind of. He said,
Yeah.
so the earlier you are, the
gotta get
earlier you can
philosophical.
kind of get that mindset
Yes.
that what am I going to think about on my deathbed,
Yes.
the better you'll be in life. And what I'm even finding now is like 2 weeks ago, I think I had it in my head always that like my mom would, if I never wore something, she'd be like, well, you can't give that away. You got to wear it. You bought it and all this, finish your food on your plate and all these things. Where my mindset now is, I already paid for the food. So if you don't want to eat it, don't eat it. It's like the whole thing of telling my child there's children starving in Africa means nothing to her. It doesn't mean anything to her.
No, you're trying to impart perspective.
Right. But I think it gets not dangerous, but what was ingrained in me for a long time is let me just if I bought it, I gotta eat it. If I bought it, I gotta wear it. But it's this thing. It's like this objectifying things. Where what I just did 2 weeks ago is cleaned out my entire closet except for a few clothing items that I really felt and held. It was like I like this. I wound up throwing out 50-60% of shirts and pants I never wore.
Every part of life should be like that.
Yeah.
Acquisition for the sake of us never does it for anybody. It's
Yeah.
you want to just figure out what brings you what you're connected to and stay with that.
Yeah, and that I wound up.
I got a carbon fiber mountain bike. Yeah, it brings me happiness. You understand?
Yes.
You go on a single track. It took a
awesome.
significant amount of money. Yeah, but it's like to buy a Dolce Gabbana. Like I don't connect
need
on
it.
any level
Yeah.
with what that would do for me.
Yeah, we don't need it at all.
Carbon fiber, on the other hand, there's an unsprung weight reduction that allows you to get up and over technical single track. But you don't know anything about mountain biking.
nice and
so I
light.
don't know why I bother with you.
Yeah. Hotel rooms, you want to go if you're going on a vacation and you want to stay in a nice hotel room because you want to enjoy the hotel room, do that. But if you're out of the hotel all day, what's the difference?
Listen, man.
But I got the room with the plunge pool.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. No, you're fucking Instagram it.
That's what it is.
On your deathbed, a lot of 80-years looking back going, I wish I would have had a couple of extra Instagram moments. You
Yeah.
know, it's
No,
it's always relationships.
I'm starting to think about now,
experiences.
I'm starting to think about now, how can I use, ticket sales or things in my career that are happening? How can I make that work for me? And more importantly, work for my children? What am I going to leave them? I'm not going to leave them my fucking comedy book. They don't give a shit. It's all
you want to leave them the right mindset. And that's
the
part of what
mindset.
you're chasing.
I want to leave them the mindset.
And also some security.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's
Right.
why I'm thinking about these
But over
assets.
and above a certain point, when you hear some fucking rapper or somebody that hears a term but doesn't understand what it means, you go, generational wealth. Like, to leave your kids with never having to work, you're not helping your kids.
No, not at all.
And so it's like it's a relative idea.
Yeah.
You want them safe and you want them with good
So I
care
got them on
and
Staten
education.
Island.
Yeah.
All you need is this jacket. You don't even pay a toll.
That's a toll-free jacket.
That's what it is. This is an easy pass.
Yeah.
Dov, what about where can people find you, see you? What do you want?
I live on Mulberry Street.
That's right.
Just at Dov Davidoff on that fucking Instagram, and then I'll put out a bunch of stuff. Just go to that stupid Instagram.
Go to the stupid
please.
site.
Check me out.
Yeah.
Not because I'm so great. I'm just better than most. Go check me out.
Go check it out. And then check out Dov and I's new investment that I'm going to rope him into.
Wait a second.
ChristyComedy.com. You know all the dates. The only tickets we got left are the theater at Madison Square Garden, September 23rd. Everything else is sold out. I appreciate it. Appreciate the love. Patreon.com/ChristyComedy. All the fun advice we give, the talks. We're going to do more financial segments there. We'll teach you how to, I'm learning with you how to invest and do that. So we'll do it together. And merch, brand new merch is out there, ChristyComedy.com. And I appreciate all the love and support, folks. Have a good day, my Puerto Ricans.
God bless. God bless.
God bless. By the way, we got my daughter into communion. She's doing communion. We just had to grease the priest a little bit.
Yes.
As the Are You Garbage guy said last week, money talks, and baby, it did. And that's something I had to invest in, my daughter's communion. And
there you go.
It's good. That's why I've added a show in Buffalo.
There you go.